Going live, episode 78. The episode that puts Jordan on the map.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6.
The one that gets
seven,
everyone to hate me.
8.
Woo!
Well.
I did tell him
back,
you
guys.
would pee, and that's why it was delayed.
Yes.
So,
I gotta go. You gotta go. You know.
gotta go.
Drinking. I'm not drinking a Zevia right now. I'm actually
He
going.
gave it
with
to me because he's a super nice person.
I am. I gave him a new flavor.
Yeah.
New flavor.
And we've both agreed it's not the greatest.
It's not the best.
No.
It's not the best. Sorry, Zevia. We
It's-
like you guys, but that one wasn't the best.
It's lemon lime. What twist? Yeah.
Lemon lime twist. Check it out. Get a variety pack. It's a way to go.
Is that what you got?
Well, most of my parents are hooked on Zevia now too. So
Where'd they get a variety pack?
you can order them online.
Oh,
Yeah, dude,
Yeah.
variety pack, and you get like I think it's
dude, the truckers
8
are about to
different flavors.
they're about to all like strike anyway, so you're not going to get anything online.
Nah, they gotta keep working. Got to make that money.
They all drove
Make that
the,
money,
the
honey.
million MAGA march.
Million maggot march. Million maggot march. Is that what you said?
Sure, that too.
Oh, snap. Guys, well, welcome back to Testing Normal. Hope you had a fantastic week. This is Curtis.
This is Jordan,
Podcast where we talk about anything and everything we want to.
and tonight we're going to talk about some things that I want to.
Yeah, tonight we're
And
gonna
Curtis
go over,
does too. I will say that he's
Yeah.
had to listen to me all week long, rant and rave, and he loves it. Look
do.
at his face. Look at his face.
I do.
For
It's
those of you
fantastic.
listening, his face looks excited.
It's been enjoyable. So Jordan said, I basically have worked almost every day this week, so I did not get to do much opportunities to explore the political.
And by that, he doesn't mean I didn't work. He just works crazy hours when he does.
Right.
It's like on, and I don't hear from Curtis for a few days. And then he's like, hey, bro, what's up? I'm home. And
So
it's like
he knows when
4
I'm
days later.
texting him that I'm basically not working.
Mhm. Or he is a really bad patient.
Or, yeah, something really weird or bad that happened. So, anyways, Jordan did a ton of research, and I kept getting texts this week about all the crazy stuff that went on with this previous election, ballot mail-in situation, voting
Shenanigans.
system, and I'm stoked to hear what
Here's
Jordan's
the deal.
thoughts are.
I think that there are a lot. There's two groups of people right now, and there have been because people have been split. But I'm going to preface and back up a little bit because a few weeks ago, before last week, we didn't talk about this at all because I had an amazing guest, Joel Garvin. If you haven't listened to it, go back and listen to it.
Check it out.
We wish you could have talked to him longer, and it
Yep.
still went for 3 hours, and it's worth it. It's worth the time to listen to what he has to say. It's interesting, compelling,
Sci-fi.
super sci-fi, super UFO. Go download it, podcasts, watch on YouTube, whatever. But back up a week before that, and we had some predictions, and they were just predictions. They weren't like bets or anything like that. And so far, Curtis
Nailed it.
nailed it. As far as we don't have a definitive answer, we still don't have a definitive answer.
But the shift, even, I called the shift.
You did, and we're going to go into that because okay, so a couple things that are going to be said. Number one, I did make a call, and I still stand by that call from 2 weeks ago. Okay?
Okay.
So
okay. Let me hear that.
and-
Go and refresh my memory.
I'll
What your
refresh
call
your,
was
I'll
from-
refresh your memory. There's going to be a slam dunk. Most states go to Trump. That's the short version of it. If people want to hear it, it was at the end of 2 weeks ago. And
Okay, and so your let's say what your call was, and then we'll say what my call was.
okay, so my call is he wins the swing states and surprise upset, gets a lot of votes. Okay, so pretty much what I would have called would have been the eve, or not the eve, but the night of the election before we all went to bed. That's
Mm-hmm.
if people want to go back and look at that snapshot, which spoiler alert, go on YouTube and try to look for them. They're gone.
Of ours?
Our streamed elections, not ours, the streamed elections that they streamed live for people to watch are gone.
Oh, well,
They took them down.
the live stream.
The live streams.
Probably for all networks, though. Like, could you find the CNN's live streams?
Nope.
Interesting.
None of them. And we'll get into why.
Oh, okay. So let's do that in a little bit here.
So, oh crap, 13 viewers. Guys, that's a lot. It might not be a lot for like
So
Trump's weird rally.
13 election interested folks.
Yeah.
Okay, so your prediction was a slam dunk on that night.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, not all states, obviously. I think it would be kind of weird if a president won all states. But on election night, people got really confused. There was some tears shed on CNN. Fox got confused. They called Arizona early. Some weird things were going on. And then all of a sudden, everything paused, right? So, kind of bring us up. And that's kind of what we've been living with this week. For a lot of people, if you're not looking into like Twitter and some of the developments or trying to look for some of the evidence that's being said, where you might be sitting is, hey, Joe Biden is president-elect, which is fine. That's what the media is saying. If that's what they're telling you and you want to believe that, cool. That's fine by me. Live there. That's what's being said. And so people think that's what's going on. And they're like, if they're on Team Biden, which if he's the president, everyone should support the president. Okay. But so far, that's not the case. And the media is still saying it. They rarely say projected. They just say President-elect Joe Biden, which BT dubs isn't even a thing. I mean, when we say it, it's just doesn't matter who the president is gonna be. Like, it's just like a honorary thing. And so when they say that and they declare it, it really is only the media that's declared it so far. And that's where most people sit. They're like, I watch the news, or they're just sick of it. They're just done. I don't want to talk about this anymore. It bothers me. Stressed out. Totally get it. Take breaks from it. I have not. I probably should at some point, but I've gotten wrapped the heck up in
You've gotten
this.
super wrapped up in this. One thing I would say that I'm kind of surprised by, even on the opposing side of that, when you look at like CNN's website,
Right.
or MSN, or some of the more what you would call liberal leaning websites, they actually did wait quite a while for the electoral map.
Yes.
Of
Shockingly, Fox called it sooner.
Mm-hmm. They waited quite a while before they actually called the states for
Right.
whichever candidate. Like even the ones that were pending or that
Yes.
could switch back and forth. So they actually waited significantly longer than they had previously in other elections.
Right. Right.
So that, to their credit, I thought that was commendable.
Right. Yeah, and there's still some of them that they have not called.
Right.
Well, a lot of them have not. They say it's leaning Biden, and that's fine.
Right.
And so we could kind of go through that. But like,
so my call though,
Yes.
my call from 2 weeks
sorry.
ago, if you guys didn't see it, I said that what would happen, I theorized, would be that on election day, there would be a significant higher number of individuals that had voted towards the Trump campaign and towards the current sitting president. And that night you would go to bed and you would see that it looks like it's positive towards Trump.
Mm-hmm.
And then as the days progressed, you would start to see a swing and a blue shift towards Biden, because a significantly higher number of people would be tending towards mail-in ballots. That would be towards the Biden preference.
Right. Which was they said that.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah.
Yes. Right. And then
Which all of this was
and
funny
then-
because a lot of people said that beforehand.
right. And I agreed basically. And then we would start to see, as Trump started to go behind in the votes, then you would start to see the Trump cabinet and members start to protest and say that it is a scam, and start to say that there is fraudulent claims taking place, and that eventually, though, and now this goes into the future, I do think eventually, despite what Jordan's theories are going to be, these are what my predictions are going to be.
Go for it.
I think eventually Trump will, is it called succeed or basically like relent his cabinet, relent his presidency. I think eventually he will, but he will say that he robbed from him. I think that will be eventually the case.
Okay.
But okay, now on to Jordan's research.
Here's what's happening. So just so you know how deep I've dove into this, because there's a lot of people out there. The first thing that people say is this. They say, if it was a stolen election, because and I don't actually agree with that statement. I think that's the wrong argument to make.
The wrong verbiage.
Do not say stolen election. And that's not how they're arguing it. That's how it's being portrayed. They're arguing it, but they're not. Mm-hmm. They're not. Trump has said that, but we all know Trump. He doesn't always say exactly what he should. But the lawyers are arguing it that it is a uncertifiable vote in those states. And so that's the way it's being argued right now. Now, we've seen this happen before. For those of you who were around, we saw it with Bush Gore. And for those of you that don't know, that went all the way till December 12th before that was actually finally decided.
Go towards Bush?
It went towards Bush, yes. But a lot of lawyers,
got bushy.
A lot of lawyers say
concede.
that
Thank you, Haley. Thank you.
That if Gore had sat on it, he probably would have won. But the DNC told him to concede on December 12th. It was already a day or two late past when the election certification was due by legislature.
Okay. Gotcha.
So that's one
so
thing.
He could have kept fighting.
That's one thing for people to understand in this process. So if you do know, it's going to be a little bit boring for like 30 seconds here. But if you don't know, we don't elect the president. We the people.
Electoral.
So when people say that it should be the popular vote, that can be your opinion all you want, but that is one of the things that makes us a Democrat, or not a Democratic, A republic. So a democratic republic. So we elect electors. And even when we do the popular vote and you look at the numbers for nationwide, that does not matter towards the president. And it shouldn't, for a few different reasons, in my opinion. And my opinion is shared by the founding fathers. So
yeah, but the founding fathers also were in a significantly different.
They were, but they
time.
predicted they put this into place for something like this, and that's where they were looking ahead, thinking if someone could, and I'm just allegedly doctor an election enough that it would sway the results. They wanted, if there was things going on, litigation going on towards that showed significant proof that there was a fraudulent election somewhere that would sway it and somebody else had control of that, then it would dip to the second option, which is this, that the legislature would take over. They would say that the vote is uncertifiable, and then either they can do a couple things. One's a little bit confusing, but it's where they can remove the state's electoral votes from the vote count. And then if nobody has 270 electoral votes,
right,
it goes to every state,
right,
elects an elector, one, and they all vote.
Which is wild. California gets one, Alaska gets one.
They all vote. And the reason why is because it's balanced. So people say like, oh, there's tons more people in California. It affects them more. No, North Dakota needs to matter just as much as California. There's farmers, there's things that happen there. There's people that pump oil there. There's Wyoming. There's all these different states. They may not have as many people, but it doesn't mean that they matter less than the people in the cities.
Minnesota doesn't matter, but yeah.
Sure.
But everyone else, right.
Whatever. You know, you can have your opinion about it. But I can't even see what Haley or Jonathan Reed's saying because I'm talking. If you feel like it's important, you can read it. So that's where this electoral college comes in, and that's where I think that eventually we're going to get to for a few different reasons. I've read some of the litigation. I read 125 pages of the Pennsylvania litigation and what they filed.
So that's the Trump campaign lawyers filing against
and it gets
that.
That's just Pennsylvania. And what was so if you want to hear the other side, and what you saw in the headlines was Trump loses 6 of his their Trump campaign lost 6 filings in Pennsylvania. Okay, go to CNN, you'll see it. Right. They lost 6.
Yeah,
they did. That was intentional. I read that. And the reason it was intentional is because those 6 requests could not be fulfilled by the lower courts. It has to go to the Supreme Court. Those are Supreme Court askings, and they couldn't rule on those, so they had to deny them so that we get pushed up the court system. The one thing that they did rule on was, and it's correct, is that the state officials had changed election law without going through legislature, and federally, by the Constitution, no election rules can be changed.
What rule did they change?
They changed when votes can be cured.
Okay.
And then also another part that probably is going to go through is that they were calling people to cure votes beforehand, but they were only calling.
And what does a cure a vote mean?
It means that if, say, you didn't sign your thing right or the signature looks suspect, your vote's invalid unless you go cure it and prove with your ID that it's you.
Okay.
So they did that, but they were also calling people beforehand, but only Democrat people.
Okay.
And so they're getting a lot of those thrown out. And it's not a lot. It doesn't change the election, but what they're doing is proving through case law that you can't make those changes unless it goes through legislature, which also affects Georgia, and it also just affected California yesterday.
I see that there are multiple instances and multiple situations, and I'll tell you, John made a really good point. I want to point it out to you after I say this.
Yeah.
There's multiple cases where individuals or certain circumstances did not happen according to law, did not happen correctly.
Correct.
Throughout this election. I think those, if you dig deep enough, I think you could probably find that in any election.
Yes.
But were those instances enough to actually cause a false candidate or winner?
That's a super good question.
That's where
you have to ask whether or not it would sway the vote. So just in Michigan alone, I'll start there. That's one of the main ones that is really good to look at to see what they're going to do, because it looks like it's probably going to go happen first because now the legislature's on board in Michigan to get it thrown out. They have, at the time that I read, over 130 different affidavits from people proving that the election process was not followed correctly.
So 130, and how many votes were cast in that state?
Tons.
Millions.
But these are 130 poll workers working at the places with evidence towards it, 4 of them of which witnessed a van dropping off votes the day after that had no envelopes and no sealed and were only checked Biden. And one of those, hang on, one of those people was a Dominion representative, not even someone part of the state. She was a tech for there. And she said, under oath, now mind you, affidavit is evidence in court, especially if you have multiple cases. So it's like if you murdered someone, you're like, yeah, you have no evidence, and they didn't. If 4 people are like, I watched him do it, you're probably going to get tried for murder and probably be found guilty based on those. So think about it like that.
If it's perjury, essentially, if you lie.
It is. They have all signed under penalty of perjury to this. One of them being the one that was the most interesting is this tech that works for Dominion, which is the voting company. And she witnessed people scanning batches of 50 votes. So the way it works is at least with that system is you have 50 votes and you run them through the machine. Okay. All 50. And then you count them and it clears off the machine. Well, the machines kept jamming, and she came to one person that had like between 400 and 800 already racked up on it with only a stack of 50, which means they had run that many times through, and she was watching them do it.
But see, those are the sort of kind of.
But she's also the one that saw the van with 3 other witnesses.
Right. So it's like this person's coming in saying multiple cases of all these different things that she's seeing. That seems a little sus to me.
Well, she reported it to her boss.
Was she actually sitting there watching the machine the entire time every single ballot went through that machine?
Yes. She worked a 24-hour shift.
I don't know. I mean, by this time, 17 people have told the story.
That's totally fine. That's totally fine. But it's 4 people that saw that same thing.
Yeah. And the 4 affidavits see the exact same thing. That does seem suspicious to me, for sure.
The other thing that was done in Michigan that kind of goes along with the same thing because it looks like it was happening in the same area was the USPS worker that came forward and has now had death threats on him and everything. I was sitting. Right. Okay. I was sitting watching on my computer CNN stream live, and was
this the one where the guy had like a CIA or had some type of a interrogator come to him?
Yes.
That was a
yeah. So I'll go through that really quick.
NSA?
So he came forward and he gave testimony to Project Veritas, which I'll have a link for them. But they've done a lot of different videos, including sting operations to find people that
we should play that audio.
Let
me see if I can find it.
Yeah, that you can find, or that they were paying this lady they found this lady in a sting that was being paid to farm votes in Texas.
Right.
So they broke that. They broke this guy. He came forward. They've put up retainer to keep him like legally defended because there are people trying to come after him now, and he's been fired recently. He had the inspector general of the USPS come in and interrogate him for 2 hours and try and play mind games with him and get him to dumb down his story.
That's kind of a funny concept though.
And I have listened to that entire talk or that entire interrogation with him, and it is gut wrenching.
Well, in the interrogation itself, it specifically he says, I'm trying to change your mind. Like,
he does.
Essentially, I'm trying to,
he goes,
what did he say, warp your mind?
And then at another point he said, I'm not trying to scare you, but, well, I am trying to scare you because this is a big deal.
And I need you to think the right way about this.
Yes. Yeah. So he's trying to change his mind. That kid I watched his CNN. I turned on CNN and listened to them say the whistleblower for the USPS has, according to the Washington Post, has recanted his story. And I look over at my other screen, and it's a video of him on YouTube that was posted on Twitter, like at the same time, of him holding the phone with the Washington Post article saying, "This is my name. I did not recant this. I would ask that the Washington Post recant this story."
Right.
And he came out. He still has a signed affidavit on. He's done it. There's been another USPS worker that's come forward since then. They both have claimed backdating and or people withholding mail for the other team.
Right. Yeah. So that was actually really.
That's a different one.
That's a different one.
Yeah.
Okay. That was really unfortunate seeing that basically it seemed like they were trying to influence his thinking, and they kind of specifically say, oh, here it is. Here it goes. Okay. Let me pull this up here. Did they take it down? Hold on a second.
Maybe. Well, while you're doing that, like what people need to understand is they don't need to prove criminal intent at this point with this. All they need to do is prove that there was election fraud at a scale that could sway the elections. And in all these states, they are close enough that it does prove that. At this point, at least to a, reasonable thinking person.
So a level of fraud.
Right.
Is that
so that is where our election process comes into play. that they could say, okay, there's a level of election fraud that was taking place here. Criminal intent does not need to be proved for this, but we can say beyond a shadow of a doubt that this is not a certifiable election. We can't say beyond a shadow of a doubt that this is a certifiable election. That's what they need to get someone to say, and it looks like all the legislatures are stepping in line. The one that's kind of to watch is Georgia, but they have the lawyer that's there, which is Lynn something, I can't remember his name now, is ridiculous. And I've heard him speak in a couple different places, and he just started there. There's going to be a lot of stuff coming out in the next few days for both Georgia, Pennsylvania, Michigan, and it looks to be like Nevada. But also something to add, and this is something I have not looked into what's being filed, but I know because it's being said by other lawyers. There's a lot of litigation that's going on in all of these states from people who are not even part of Trump's campaign. So there's other grassroots people that are like filing complaints, filing litigation against these, and one of them's in Nevada, and it's a criminal case.
Interesting. Well, okay, so real quick, though, I wanted to get back to a comment that Jono had made.
Go for it.
Before we get too far away from it. He made a good point. He said basically that Trump had been saying for several months before the elections that he was going to contest the mail-in ballots. And so in doing so, he basically set it up so that when and if he lost in a close election, he would leave with half of the country believing the election was stolen and basically find himself with more power with the GOP and set him up to kind of be a power player even after he loses the election.
So this is something I've thought through as well. I don't think that's the case. I'm not saying it's not a possibility, but I think he knew more going into this than he could change in time to make it work, because there is, and I'll explain here as simply as I can. That
not that you're simple, you guys are simple.
No, not that you're simple. It's just it gets really, really confusing because of the way that the data is done. But there's been a lot of math work done on these, and I did this with a friend as well, where the information is available out there to go grab, because New York Times, thank you New York Times for not doing due diligence and encrypting your data. They left open the entire election numbers for people to download as they came in timestamp.
Well, that's good. Maybe that's actually a credible thing.
It's
not a bad thing.
It's good, but it's the thing that's cracking, I believe, began to crack this case open wider than it's ever been. And that is because if you look, you can see that there's obvious evidence of things not going right in the states that are there. So something I watched this morning, and I'll put this link up. Fox News actually had on Rudy Giuliani, who, love him or hate him, it's sort of funny that he's doing this, but it's what he's known for, is exposing fraud. It's apparently that was his name, his claim to fame.
Well, in New York,
right.
Well, fraud was a big with the actual mob. He helped bring down.
So
bring down the mob.
He's good at this. He was on there talking about this, and then there was another lawyer, which is something Powell, I think is her name. She's fantastic. People are like, if Trump really does pull this off, she needs to be secretary. Something. She needs to be something big because she's done an amazing job so far. Are you still trying to find that one?
Yeah, I'm still trying. It's really annoying.
I could probably find it if I looked at it. But so I don't remember where I was at now.
Rudy Giuliani.
Oh yes,
being
correct. Yeah.
A key
so
player.
they're claiming, and this is where like people have to understand the legal process. And I'm not a lawyer, but I can tell you that I've read a lot about them this week. And that is, and I knew this going into it, but you don't just show the evidence. Like, you don't just show your hand. It's kind of like poker. You want to make sure that nobody can figure out what you're doing so they can't cover it up. And so when people are like, show me the evidence, there's affidavits you can go read. I'll put up a link to them of all the witnesses that they've collected for the different spots. And some of it is disturbing what they claim to have gone through. Now, again, it's under the penalty of perjury. So the treatment that some of them got, and now this isn't just Republicans either. So before anyone says that, like, it's Republicans and Democrats that are coming forward because of this, just because they know that it wasn't right, and what they experienced wasn't right. But the evidence that they're saying that they have is that essentially they can prove now that our votes were not being counted here, and that the machines not only weren't.
Yeah, that's wild. If that's true.
Not only were not they're not supposed to be connected to the internet, but they were connected to the internet and the counts were going to some offshore area to be counted. Now, this is where I said I want to simplify it down. You can go look it up if you want to, but essentially these things are like raw text, like a Word document, or even more simple than that. You can, with a thumb drive, just plug into them, change things, all that kind of stuff. Like I've looked at how you could do it, and you could do it. A smart person could do it in the voting booth.
Really?
Yes. Oh, yes.
Interesting.
And so there's already been some that were reported to have been lost and then somehow found, and then they still plugged them in and counted them as part of the count. Now they're seeing this traffic that's gone over the internet to offshore places. Now what that can do is that can be intercepted, and it can download back some other areas. Now, what I was saying that I went through and dug through the data, there's definite times and glitches, and this is why I said I'll get to the whole YouTube went down and they yanked the videos.
But wasn't there concern that there was some fraudulent activity that took place with the Russians during the original Trump election?
There
too?
was.
So maybe that was taking place in both elections.
I think it's been taking place in elections. I don't think it was Trump that was doing it, but that Trump was actually moving this last week to declassify that entire thing so that people could see really what happened. Mm-hmm. And they wouldn't let him. They've blocked him from declassifying that case. But anyway, so when YouTube went down and those videos got dropped, I was watching the thread of nerds that were going through that data, and what they were doing was when they would change scenes online, because all the data is coming into the New York Times is real time. What feeds that ticker that you see at the bottom of CNN?
Oh, okay.
And when they would change scenes, you would see two different tickers, and there was a split second where Trump was 6,500 down, and it had given the votes to Biden on the other screen. And that happened multiple times through different like media broadcasters.
Is it possible there's just...
It is possible, but what they did, because they had the raw data and timestamps, is that they went back and they dug into those and they timestamped the video, the time that it happened,
right,
found the anomaly in the data, lined them up, and found all the places that the votes switched spots.
Well, I mean, I guess I would say on that aspect, the raw data is the accurate data, but what CNN or Fox News is actually showing on their TV or
Correct.
their channel doesn't necessarily mean it's the accurate
it comes
representation.
In like once a minute, and it is kind of dirty data,
yeah,
but that supports the fact
dirty data.
That supports the fact that the data was going somewhere else and being changed.
I guess it could, or that
except
CNN,
that they're seeing those connections now. So
if they're seeing those connections, I can't refute that because I don't know.
Sidney Powell, my mom found it. Sidney Powell, yes, she's been
Sidney
on
Powell.
Fox News a couple times and said some things today that essentially were incredibly damning.
Any colon relation?
And they kept
colon Powell relation?
So no, I don't think so. No. And she maybe, I don't know. So I didn't think about it. Mom, answer that.
That was like a delayed thought.
Anyway, she alluded to some evidence. Fox said, "Hey, can you tell us what it is?" And she goes, "I can just tell you that you're going to find out probably this week."
What is her position? What is her...
She's one of the legal team lawyers for Trump's campaign.
Trump campaign.
Yes. She's working with Rudy.
Working with old Rude, huh?
Yeah.
Old
and
Rude,
if people want to see the evidence and they want to see it read to them, because no one's a dork and wants to go read 125 pages like I did. It's painful to watch. It's no disrespect to Rudy, but he has a YouTube podcast where he reads through those.
This is what I'm hearing. I'm hearing that there are several potential discrepancies within the way that the ballots were counted and with the way that certain machines and or technology was distributing votes.
Right.
And perhaps that did lead to a multitude of anomalies and or inaccurate counts, but it does not sound to me like a conspiracy necessarily and or a alternate agenda from one group over the other that I'm hearing so far.
Except that the ones that are in question in Pennsylvania total 600,000.
Okay, and what is that though?
Those are the ones that have anomalies. And that they've already...
There's 600,000 anomalies within the Pennsylvania votes. In what way?
So those are the ones that happened after they paused all the votes. So if you go look out, and I'll put a link to this, but Fox News showed it this morning as well when Sidney Powell's on there. She said, "I want to show you an infographic. Here's the states that are all in question right now. Okay. She puts up a picture of all the states. It's Nevada, Michigan, Wisconsin, Pennsylvania, Georgia, Arizona. And she's like, I'm going to put up another infographic. And Michael Flynn's attorney now? Oh, yeah. I think she was going to be his. So, and then they put up the next infographic was all the ones that show anomalies in the numbers.
Okay.
And it was all the same ones. They all have significant anomalies that total like 100,000 or more in each state in the data.
And are you saying in the data? So are they compiling?
So they're either a combination of the raw data looks switched or votes switched from one to the other so that it looks like it's been doctored enough to change the election, or when they paused the vote. So I'll give you an example. In two of the states that are more prominent that I found more evidence on, is one of them is Georgia. There was a water main that broke. Okay. And they said, we have to pause counting.
So in the building, a water main broke. That's
mind you,
sense.
they all paused when Trump was winning a lot. Okay. You take that as you want. It paused in Georgia, and they said they had to quit for 4 to 6 hours. They have now just yesterday subpoenaed and have text information from someone's cell phone of the owner of one of those stadiums, and he has on it them saying, hey, the water main broke. Is that really going to disturb anything? And he goes, no, it wasn't a big deal. We were just trying to protect property. It only took 30 to 90 minutes to fix.
Okay.
They said it took 4 to 6 hours. They had sent Republican poll watchers home and kept counting.
So
they tabulated.
Are you saying when you say Republican poll counters?
So the law says.
Hold on real quick. So I've heard about during that nighttime there was 100,000 votes that came in. Was it Michigan? 100,000 votes that came in overnight for Biden
for one county.
Mm-hmm. Then are they saying that 0 votes? So they 0 votes came in for Trump during that entire time, or are they saying that it's just a significant amount of Biden votes came in?
No,
as well.
They
were saying no Trump votes came in that time at all.
The 4 people that said those votes came in said none of them, like almost none of them, had signatures on the ballots. There was tons that didn't even have an envelope.
Well, see, if that's the case, if that's true,
yeah.
Which I'm not saying it's not, but I don't know it is because I didn't see that, right? So I need to see evidence of that. If that's true, then obviously, yeah, that's clear.
Well, here's what the court has to decide.
It's hard for us to say that.
For them to see if, hey, I have 4 witnesses that say this happened, and here's the van picture of the van, which they have. This is the things taking place. Does this look like a doctored election? If it does, okay, cool. We have a backup process. It's legislature. They do it anyway.
Mm-hmm. Okay, here's an interesting thought. Yeah, I mean, if it's legislator,
it goes to Trump.
Then it would.
It definitely goes to him.
It would have to go then. Based on the numbers.
And so in Georgia, that's the toughest one right now because the governor is like sitting on his butt. And what's funny is, it shouldn't sway him. What he should be swayed towards is doing the right thing. And if there is fraud that's being presented, that he look at it, let them look at it and take it seriously.
So on this whole entire kind of deep analysis that's taking place, and maybe this is not new in any stretch of the sense.
Yeah.
But this is probably being, the age I am at this election.
Mm-hmm.
I was not in circles where I felt like as many people paid that much attention or deep dived into whether there was fraudulent activity on previous elections.
They do it all the time.
Right. But my question is there a significant political leaning bias that's taking place that is causing so many people, because their candidate didn't win, that's why they're deep diving?
I would say that if all these witnesses were Republican. But they're not.
But majority, I think, probably
a lot of them are because they're the ones that were hurt in it.
Well, but in your situation, let's take your situation for example. When won the election in 2016, did you take as deep of a dive to see if the Russian interference played as much of a part?
To be quite honest, I didn't really hardly pay attention to the election at all.
But was that because
I had to probably do more with my age than how much I cared.
Okay. So, but it wasn't because at this point it is a Democratic candidate that is being suggested as the winner versus in 2016 there was a Republican candidate that was the winner? Like,
for me personally,
sure.
I just got kind of wrapped into it because it seemed interesting, and the more I dug, the more it sucked me in.
Mm-hmm.
That's honestly.
But if it had been the Democrats saying the Republicans were cheating, the Republicans were cheating, would you still feel like honestly? Do you think that you would honestly have as much fervor to investigate it as much?
Because I'd want to see.
Really?
Yeah, for sure.
So, but why would that not have been not have been the case 4 years ago? But it is now.
I just didn't care.
But why do you care now? I don't know. 4 years ago.
I don't know. I'm just interested in it. That's
okay.
To be honest. Like
no.
I'm not saying like.
I think that there's a.
Who's to say that the Republican candidates did? That's true, John.
Wait. Say that sentence. I didn't
saying,
understand what you're saying.
What's to say that the Republican poll watchers didn't all coordinate to do this? So the thing that makes me think that's not the case, I see where you're coming from, and I've thought about that too, is that if it's found that they're lying, they face jail time. They signed and would go to jail.
But also here's the deal. If they end up pushing that through, then they'll just say, okay, well, I trust Trump is going to give me some type of pardon. Or, I mean, that's a risk, right? That's a big risk.
But if they went to... No, he wouldn't be
off.
the president then. Like, if they got caught...
They believed it that much.
No. Because if they got caught, he wouldn't be president. That doesn't work. They'd either get away with it or go to jail.
I guess I see this is what's hard for me because I don't identify as a Republican or as a Democrat, okay? This is what's hard for me. When I see a political leaning individual fight really hard against what they see as an injustice from the other side, but then they don't do that. They don't critique their own side to the same degree.
Right.
So right now I'm seeing so many people that would identify as conservatives or a Republican Party, and they had zero critique, and they thought they had zero critique and criticism of the 2016 elections.
I wasn't sure, but I will say
so many people are so critiqued about this election.
I grew up with the Clintons, never trusted those people. And they have the thing, there's the whole conspiracy theory that even is tied to them. It's like the Clinton death toll or whatever. Like those things, like I didn't trust Hillary.
How many people got suicided?
Right.
Yeah.
So, I mean, you've heard that too. It doesn't matter what side of the fence you sit on. Like, sure, whatever. I just didn't. I can't say that I like it when Trump gets up and talks. I find it entertaining, but I wish sometimes he would just shut up. Like that's the truth.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
But I'm not a big fan of Harris. I'm not a big fan of Dementia Joe.
Yeah, I think everybody has, to a degree, their own political bias, I guess you would say, because they identify with.
Because we've all been stuck at home for 8 months.
Yeah, that's
true, dude.
Yeah, for sure.
So to speak to what you said, Jono, at the end of the day, people are just believing things one ear. I'm trying to look at both sides, but every time that I see, I guess where it really struck a chord with me and made me wonder, is this 1984? Does 2 + 2 still equal 4 to everybody? Because when I look at CNN and they're saying this kid recanted it, and I look at his live video and it says he didn't, and he's got a signed affidavit and it's sitting there, like, who am I supposed to believe?
No. I thought he said he did recant it, but they made him recant it.
No.
Wasn't there something like he was saying like,
I think
I changed my mind? No, he said he changed his mind or something.
He started to feel that way,
right.
And then when he got home, he's like, I don't feel right about this. But he never signed anything. He never signed anything with his boss, and they fired him that night.
Oh, they did fire him.
So he worked. He got interrogated for 2 hours. Went out and did his stuff. Delivered his mail. Got back, and they said, by the way, you don't have a job anymore.
Wow. Under what grounds? Do you know?
Under what grounds?
Yeah,
they just said, I read it, and it was like basically the, right to employment law. Like they can let you go for whatever.
That I do want to say though, Jessica made a great point. I want to reinforce that we have all been stuck in our house for so many months, and this is a form of entertainment. Unfortunately, at high risk and high stakes, right? But yeah, this is a form of entertainment. Yeah, essentially. Yeah. So many people have an opinion, and based off of that, they have a response to it. So that's true. It's very true.
Everyone's involved in. So Jono's last thing says, but everyone who is involved in rigging an election is facing jail time. Absolutely. I completely agree. But I would say that mindset is of the one that says, I'm willing to sacrifice myself because I think it's they're thinking they're doing something good. Like,
or they just think they're telling the truth, and they don't care about
I don't know, dude. Like some of the accounts that I've read of people, of what they're alleging that people did, or they're actually saying under oath, this is what I watched this person do. It's utter. It would have to be. What it sounds like is like people that are dedicated to Russia or something. You know, like people are like, I'm for Russia. I'm for Mother Russia. Like it's like this dedicated patriotism, but it's not for a quote unquote good cause. Like it feels like that. The things that they're saying they've done or watched people do is like, what on earth?
What did you actually get around to what Rudy Giuliani did? Or was there something about him that you were wanting to say?
I was just saying that he has a YouTube channel. I did say he has a YouTube channel where he reads through some of the affidavits and shows some of the evidence.
Oh, okay.
It's just painful to watch.
I gotcha.
Super painful. It's super cheesy. It looks like an old infomercial, but he's actually reading them and shows the documents, and you can go look at the documents on the website. So it's just an easy way if somebody wants to turn on YouTube and just listen to him read the different affidavits and talk about them. He does present the evidence, so they do.
I don't. We all listen to different podcasts, you know, and I'm a podcast connoisseur, you might say. But you had commented that you have been started to become a little bit of a fanboy of Alex
Jones.
Alex Jones. In fact, you texted me the other day and you said you should just start calling me Alex.
I
was
did.
like, wow, because you were not. I had enjoyed Alex, you know, last year when he was on the JRE.
Yeah.
And I remember you saying, I can't listen to him. He
he
talks
was
too much. I can't
he was
stand him.
stressful.
But now you enjoy him? Like, tell me what's going on here.
I can only handle him in bits.
Give me some info. I'm shocked
I
that
can
you're
only handle
enjoying
him in bits, and I will say I don't believe everything he says. But there are a lot of things where I'm like watching him this week going, what the hell? Like how did he get that right? How did he know? Like he's the one that called the 79 days of hell. Like he said it's going to go close. Trump might win. He might not. But it's going to be 79 days of hell because they're all going to fight over it.
So a very interesting, I want to hear more about your Alex thoughts, but a very interesting prediction that I've been hearing around the water cooler, you might say.
What water cooler?
Or the IV drip line I've been hearing lately.
What is that?
So like people, you know, at work, they're at the water cooler. Everybody's talking. At the
I
water
know
cooler.
that.
But I don't have a water cooler. So my job.
That's why I was like, what's an IV drip line?
You know, like fluids, like you're putting in
IV.
somebody. Yeah,
I was thinking IV, like IVY.
Oh, I gotcha.
I was like, wait, what the heck? You go outside? Do you smoke now? Like, what do you...
Yeah, right. Yeah, the cool. I only smoke cools.
This is very true, Jessica.
And menthols.
They're being influenced by social media, for sure.
Yes, for sure. What was I saying?
IV drip line.
Alex
you're hearing it all around the water cooler.
What was it? New theory. Okay. So the new theory that I've been hearing floating around that I think could be true is if Trump loses this election, I think he will run again. There's a good chance he'll run again in 2024.
Yeah, I think so.
And I think that he will bolster a larger base than what he previously did. And that will then give him either him or, here's even more of a curveball, his daughter.
Maybe.
Because she's got a lot of fans out there.
Hi, Lisa.
She's got a lot of fans.
Maybe. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe
ultimately,
I'm totally
guys,
wrong.
Does anybody out there think that Kanye has a chance?
Does
anybody think Kanye...
That's a good point.
Kanye has a chance. What if he's a running mate of Trump?
There is a state where they have proof
2024.
They have proof that all of Kanye's votes went to Biden.
No way.
I swear.
What?
I swear.
No.
Yes.
No, because they counted Kanye's votes.
I know.
So wait, why do you think that they went?
I know. I'm saying, like, I heard that said today. Part of their evidence is that all of his votes in one state went to Biden.
What? So is there a way can a candidate give their votes towards another party member?
Only if there's like a ranked voting system in a state.
Which I highly am a proponent of, ranked voting. I really think that would be an important addition to our democratic process.
I emphatically am against getting rid of the electoral college at this point.
I honestly think if you had ranked voting, I think you could get rid of it.
I don't think so. Because it shouldn't be the people to do it. Because it's the way you'd have to change the Constitution, and we would have to change who we are.
No.
Yeah.
You what does that mean? You have to change who you are.
I mean, it wouldn't make us a democratic republic anymore.
You'd be a Yeah, you would. You would still be a republic if you had the people voting.
The way that it keeps things split up and it provides a safeguard. What if someone did come in and rig the election? Like say, like all conjuncture aside, you're fine. Pee in a cup.
Oh, good. Okay, keep going.
What if someone did come in and rig the election? You have to have a safeguard.
Okay. So yes, you have to have a safeguard.
But
I think that you can have safeguards. I think what you do is we need to change the way we vote. It's insanely antiquated. So you change the way you vote, and you allow for ranked voting, and then you also allow for get rid of the electoral vote. I think the combination of those four would allow for far more accurate. There's so many countries.
You cannot do it.
There's so many countries that have shown you can do it.
Then New York and California would be it. They're not the same.
How many first world countries have that form of voting, and they do not have an electoral vote, and it works, and it works great.
But they're not different states, and that's the problem.
No, they have provinces. They have
No.
Yes, they do. Oh my gosh.
Yes, but they're not
in
set up
many
the way we are.
first world democratic societies. Yes, it works.
But they're not set up the way that we are.
Listen,
We
I'm
have
going to go really
independent
quick.
states.
You explain to Jessica what
ranked voting is.
Real quick.
Okay,
Real
so
quick.
we're gonna. Well, he's gone. We're gonna talk about how Curtis's prostate's large. So ranked voting is this. It is where if you have a ballot, you don't just vote for one person. What you do is say there's like 3-4 people. You pick your top pick, and then you pick your second pick, and you pick your third pick and fourth pick, or however many you really want. And when the election comes, it's also called runoff voting or elimination voting. And you, and he's laughing, yeah, because he just ran into the house. And the lowest person, when they tally up all the votes, the person with the lowest amount of votes gets eliminated, and all their votes are looked at, and whatever the people's second choice was, it goes to them, and so on and so forth until a winner is picked. So you don't have to just pick one person. You can pick multiples, and that way people can't say make you vote with fear, essentially. But now that Curtis is back,
whoa, that was
you okay, dude?
Fantastic. Fantastic.
So anyway, the reason why it wouldn't work, though, is because of the way our country's set up. You'd have to change things. But each of our states have their own laws and regulations.
Right.
And it needs to be...
And that's where you'd have to change the Constitution.
You'd have to. But the way that it's set up right now, because we are part of the Union, Washington's part of the Union. Did he wash his hands? I doubt it.
Hand sanitizer.
California is
hand
part
sanitizer.
of the Union. We don't want New York and California to decide what all the rest of us have to do. And that's what it evens the playing field for the little guy.
Okay, so I understand the concern of a larger percentage of a single state having an uneven balance. Mm-hmm. However, you already have a form of an uneven balance with the number of electoral votes that California already possesses. So that's one small aspect. You still have that.
I do think they could rework the numbers and make it work, but it really is just a safeguard. Because our government doesn't. We aren't ruled by a king.
I think you either change. I think the current state of the electoral votes is absurd and super inefficient and not effective. So I think you either renumber, give California less, and if you are trying to consider the value of a state. So what you're basically saying is the value of a state,
not the value, say of a state.
The say of a state is greater than the say of the populace.
Yes.
Which I don't know if I agree with. However, I think we either have to reevaluate the number of electoral votes a single state gets, or give the votes to the people and allow for ranked voting. If you have that and change the way that we vote.
Yeah. The problem is that the way our government is set up with the 3 different branches is that the people elect 2 of those, and then those 2 elect the 1, and they all work together as like synergy to keep people in check. So even if Trump gets in there, he's still kept in balance by the other ones that we elect as the people. And what I think people don't understand is that the president affects us so much less than the representatives and the senators. The races we should be watching are the representatives and the senators and our local government.
I'm glad you brought that up. So here's an interesting concept. There's a lot of talk going around as far as the ballots being rigged.
Gosh, maybe we should be ruled by a king. Way easier.
Way easier.
Yeah, that worked out
way
well.
Easier to just chop people's heads off, for sure. However, or way easier to just send your prisoners to an island somewhere.
Oh gosh.
Or
you're COVID sick for the Great Reset.
Okay.
Since the UN did vote this week on locking down the world.
Right, another topic. But yes, crazy.
Batshit crazy.
One thing is.
Yes, I'm waiting.
I can't remember what was I.
One thing is representatives, local government.
Representatives. Okay, there was a lot of talk. Sorry, guys, I had a brain fart. There was a lot of conversation going around as far as the elections being rigged, the ballots going towards, changing and going towards Biden. However, people aren't really acknowledging that a large portion of the votes went in favor within the Senate. Or the Senate towards Republican candidates.
Yes.
So like people are saying, "Oh, this is terrible. Biden got all these supposed, rigged votes, but then conveniently,
do you want to know why?
The Republicans actually had a majority of a victory when you consider the Senate."
I can answer that. So part of this is conjecture and part of it is not. But speaking to the statistics, which I'll put a link to people that really want to see, but there's a great mathematician that goes through this and basically says statistically
Did
analyzes.
he carry the two?
He did.
Okay.
Statistically analyzes this, and basically him and 3 colleagues who are all across this political spectrum say this is statistically, like, he asked one guy, he goes, how possible do you think this is to do? And they likened it to, they said Joe Biden just because it's him that supposedly got the win. They said if Joe Biden were to go into every state and flip a coin and get heads every time. Like, that's the statistical probability of what they see in the numbers just from the raw data, these mathematicians. And they're like, we've seen this happen in countries before where votes have been rigged.
Okay, that's true, but also this is an unprecedented time where we have an unprecedented
president.
It is,
but let me add this.
This current president, we've never had a president like we have currently.
Totally true. But let me add this. What happened was when everyone paused, right? The votes that came in, so all of the allegations, the affidavits, everything point to overwhelmingly votes came in with only Biden on the ballot, no one else down ticket.
Yeah, I really would like to. I've heard this.
I'm sure that we will get to see them.
I would really like to have
and that's
some
what that's
type
what we're in right now, and that's what people need to understand is that we have some of the evidence. They produced some of the evidence. We are currently in discovery.
Right.
So they are subpoenaing for evidence, and they're not going to show it until this comes out.
What I would be concerned about is that there are false rumors that could or are being spread, and if that's the case, I don't want that to lead to some type of anarchy.
Jessica, that is true, except that we have other states to look at. So she said, isn't it possible that people just hate him enough to not vote for him but still vote party lines on other matters? Super good question. That's actually something that I wondered too. And so the people that did analyze these different states put out the data on other states that didn't show the anomalies, and they showed the differences in this video, and you can see the scattered, like, this is what humans look like because we're very random, and this is what computers look like. They have an arcing line.
Right.
And when you go and look at the other states, people actually, and not just Republican states, people actually preferred Trump over Biden. Like, even in the Democratic Party that voted down tick, that like would go off. But even that, it's only, if you go look at the numbers, and I don't have them in front of me right now, it doesn't happen that often. I thought that too, but if you go look at the wide gamut of data, it doesn't happen that often. And people actually did in most states prefer Trump over Biden, even in the Democratic Party.
I don't know if that's, I have a hard time believing that. I'm not saying it's not true.
I'm just saying, like, looking at that's people.
I guess it depends on who they're asking.
I didn't crunch those numbers, but I'm looking at the charts of the data that I did download and play with. That they're saying this is the data, we still pulled it from here. This is what it is. So I'm
But you pulled that data from Fox News.
No, I pulled it from New York Times.
Just teasing.
But they get it. Funny enough, they get it from the same place. It pulls from that same place.
Right. That's true.
I'll take the link in the show notes. Yeah, do it. I will send you that. It's fascinating. I love statistics. And looking at it is like, it's weird. It's weird to look at. Like, when they showed it, I'm like, that doesn't look right. I've played with that stuff before, and it's like, that's weird. Like, it's definitely. But then when you look at all the affidavits, and they're like, all these things came in, and what they're alleging, So we don't know that criminal intent. Again, they're not trying to prove criminal intent at this point. I think if this goes forward and they do figure out that it's overwhelmingly evidence towards a rigged and fraud election, they will push criminal intent towards somebody.
Okay, here's the question.
But the election needs to be over before that.
Has anybody heard, or do you know what the number of, say if they say, okay, this state has enough anomalies, that would the first move be to have that state do revoting?
Revoting, there's not enough time. Okay. That's the problem.
So then
the big dates.
How many states have to become invalid for it to go to the? So 2 states have to be ruled invalid.
No. I think just one.
Or is it one or two? Or is it enough states have to be ruled invalid for the electoral votes drop to count below 270?
With great confidence that both Pennsylvania and Michigan are going to be invalidated.
So, but
that's my guess. I don't.
The question is
they look the most strong.
Do the number of electoral votes that if it went towards that candidate, do they just have to simply drop below the 270 mark for then that to happen, or is it that a certain number of states have to become invalid and then it automatically goes to a Senate vote?
If nobody has 270, it goes to legislature and it's not the Senate.
Oh, it's the House?
It's the House of Representatives picks one representative from each state to make the vote.
Here's the interesting thing. How does a state like California decide which member of the House would go? Because you have Democratic and you have Republican.
They're elected by the representatives. They cast a vote.
Oh, okay. So then the California would pick a Democratic because they have a majority. So it's basically whatever majority there is.
My confidence in life? Whose confidence in life? Curtis's or mine?
Maybe both.
Maybe both of us. Combined!
Okay.
Our powers combined.
Captain Planet! We're such dorks. I love it. Okay, so, but here's the interesting thing. What if you have a state and you have 2 representatives and one's Republican, one's Democrat?
No, that's not in the Constitution.
No, but I'm saying the state has to pick. So then how would they couldn't pick a...
The ones that are predominantly Republican will pick a Republican.
Well, obviously, but if there's not a predominant number, that would be that system doesn't seem like it's
a safeguard. So the electors elect anyway. So
some states just have 2.
If the vote is certified, it goes to the Electoral College. Okay, that's the way it works. That in any other year that doesn't have these weirdness going on, we wouldn't be arguing.
Have you looked up to see has it ever happened where it's gone to the House?
It didn't. It only went in one, but somebody still had 270. It happened in Florida with Gore and Bush. They extended it. It wasn't until December 12th that they decided that.
No. Wait, in Bush?
Yes.
It went to the House, and the House all did the votes?
The legislature took care of it.
No. But did it go to the point where the House had a vote?
Not everyone did, because he had 270.
Okay, so that's what I'm wondering. So that's never happened, actually, where it's gone to the House.
No, I don't. I think there was one other time.
Somebody can look that up for us.
I think there was a tie.
We need a Jamie.
I think there was a tie at one point, and then it started. So, because it wasn't until like 1812 or 46 or something like that. I'm trying to rack my brain for where it happened, where they instituted this failsafe. Essentially, they said we need to set ourselves up in case something bad happens. I mean, that's essentially what they did. And if that's where we're at, regardless, they're still looking at the evidence. I'm just saying, I think the evidence that I have seen, and I understand that not everyone has seen that evidence or looked into it that deep, and not everyone has the time for it. But I want people to understand there is a process going on right now. And what I wish would happen. I don't care if the media, which clearly sides with the Democratic side, okay? And that's totally their prerogative.
It's really annoying not to have an objective media platform.
It is. It is super hard. They keep saying he won't concede. He lost the election. Da-da-da-da-da. And 2 weeks ago, one of the CNN reporters puts out a TED Talk that says, this old and antiquated system, what if we go to a tie? I'm like, okay, you are kind of painting yourself into this picture. Maybe the media's in on this too, because they keep censoring so many different things.
Okay, so one thing that I will definitely admit that's really annoying to me that I've seen in the media in particular is how they say, the conservative or the Republican side is trying to basically cause division within our country, and they should just jump on board and not try to fight this.
Right.
Where 4 years ago,
Yeah.
the Democratic
What were
side
they
was
doing?
fervently
Freaking going nuts.
pushing
Exactly.
to
Which is fine. It's totally their prerogative.
kick Trump out because they said, he was conspiring with
Right.
Russia.
Right.
And that was, so it's like, okay, you guys are also, calling the kettle black, right? That's the term.
No,
Calling
it was
the kettle black.
Right now, it's the kettle calling the clouds an orange. Like, it's just not even. It's just retarded. Like, what's going on? Sorry, that's a bad word. My wife told me that the other day. So,
Wait, kettle calling the
no,
cloud
saying
orange?
retarded. I said that, and I
right,
shouldn't
it's
have
not
said
PC.
that. It's not PC. What does Joe Rogan say about that? He's like, well, what do you call things that are retarded then? He's a comedian with whatever he wants. So
I think we're kind of comedians technically. We haven't had any performances.
I don't mean
yet,
anything bad to anybody. I'm sorry.
but I'd
So-
like to be a comedian.
But anyway, all that to say, like, yeah, totally. They had their day in court. We've had our day in court. People can think the way they want. But what I wish that the media would do, because people can say what they want, like, say that you want Biden to win. I don't care. It does make you look biased, and it doesn't make look like a good media place. But if they would say, we believe that President Biden has won this, but there's still a process in place, this is what could happen. Because then it sets the people up for success and transition if their world is rocked. Because right now they're thinking, the media has said that he's going to win, and the media is God. And, like, they can decide. Well, they don't get to make that choice.
So
no one has said that in any of the government.
True. The last kind of crazy concept that I had that I wanted to throw out here before we can get to shower thoughts or TILs. What if, this is what I would like. I would like, and I don't know if it's possible, maybe it's something we can brainstorm, and make happen,
Yeah, I'm sure they'll listen. I'm going to tweet this to Donald J. Trump today.
Okay, what is the path, and is it possible to just not have a party system? To not have an affiliated party system, but rather just have a candidate system?
If I might be wrong, I truly think that's what Trump wants. Because if you look at his policy and you look at how he does things, he's not.
But like almost to the point where you make it illegal. Like you cannot have a party.
He's not a Republican and he's not a Democrat. There's so much about him that is an anomaly.
Before he was elected, he donated almost exclusively to the Democratic Party.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. So that's the thing. Is like he's only. You're out of the will now. Saying Trump to shut up. What? No, I am not. I didn't tell Trump to shut up. Oh yeah, Trump. I did say he sometimes does need to shut up.
Yeah.
I don't think
as
that
a president.
I don't think anyone can't say that. Like sometimes the things he says, I'm like, go, dude. I know what you mean, but 99% of the people don't know what you just said. Well, and the only reason I know it is because I would probably say the same thing. Like because I'm not that.
Honestly, I think you would have a better.
Maybe I don't know.
Better communication.
That's true. I actually probably am now.
Skill set than him.
Yeah. I think he makes great decisions. There's even some great people that he puts around him for a lot of things. But he just sticks his foot in his mouth a lot.
Right. Well, he doesn't talk.
Which makes for super great TV, not a great presidency sometimes.
No, he doesn't talk with the degree of respect that you would expect someone that is supposedly representing the entire nation, not just one side.
And I think a lot of it is, it's the same thing as what we're feeling right now, except it would be a little more toned down for some other people.
Yeah.
Number one, he's from a state and city that are known for being mean, and we're not. But there's a lot of things in government that piss me off, that just don't make sense. And the politics, like career politics, crap. Like,
ooh, dude,
go and do something.
This is actually interesting. There was a study that I saw, and I'll have it in the links. And this is pretty, I think, common sense. Most people would agree with this and say it makes sense.
Thanks, Jono.
What did he say?
He said, give yourself credit, Jordan. You have more decorum than Donald Trump.
Yeah, for sure. I think,
Jono and I had a good conversation the other day. It was really good.
Most people that, aren't in a mental institution probably have better decorum. But
I don't know if I go that
but talk. There was a cool study that was in a psychology journal, and it's kind of common sense, but basically it had a pretty good and it showed that people who feel supported and feel like loved by other people tend to be more open-minded and accepted of opposing views and willing to see people's other perspectives. So if you if you have, and this is kind of in Donald Trump's case as well, if you have an antagonistic perspective and message to people, then you're going to create an environment where other people antagonize against you. But if those people feel like, okay, this president is not trying to antagonize me, then they're going to have a capacity to have more open mind towards those perspectives.
I would say like it goes both ways. Like,
no, exactly.
It's just because you've seen that with like the million man march that just hit DC that nobody covered, and there clearly was like, I've seen the actual video and pictures which they weren't showing anywhere else, and there was easily 300,000 to 400,000 people there. Some of the police were saying on the ground that it was over 1 million, like easy, that marched on DC yesterday.
I'm trying to think if I saw. I think I saw pictures, but I don't think I saw many videos.
I'm going to put a link in our show notes to them because Alex Jones's crew actually did do a time lapse walking through the crowd all the way to the end. It's insane. Like, I saw a video from above, like someone got up on a building and took video.
But wait, why does it matter? What are you saying? Like, you're saying because the media doesn't want to see how many people supported him?
I saw the report from CNN was 8,000 to 10,000 people showed up.
Okay.
And it is
they're saying
freaking more. And once it dark hit, they had like fireworks thrown on them from Antifa, and they were getting like rioted on by Antifa. There's video of it, like
get rioted on. I don't like getting rioted on.
Rioted, like they were, and the police were protecting Antifa.
Interesting. Well, because they're a bunch of maybe
they're a bunch of kids that didn't get
feathers.
enough spankings. That's what they are.
Oh man. Okay. So
anyway, here's my prediction. This next week or two, we're going to see a lot more come out of this. I hope that a lot more evidence comes out and it mounts. I think I'm hopeful that it will be this week, and we'll see what's going to happen. And I guarantee the media is probably not going to start covering it until it actually is solid
right.
doing something.
It's going to have to be solid.
But I think what they don't understand is right now, it's not just a small margin that they could win by. Like right now, at least by reading the evidence that I have and reading the litigation that's in court and the small things that they've already won in the smaller courts, he has a stronger chance of winning than Biden right now.
And this is a request I have for anybody out there that's listening. If anybody knows of a news platform that has the most objective or middle line perspective on their articles and resources and journalism, let me know, because I really want to find something middle line, and I'm having a hard time.
There are a few that I'll send your way.
Okay.
But what's hard is a lot of them. It's kind of like, here's what we're hearing, and here's the evidence. You make your own decision.
Sure.
And I kind of think that's how news should be. And even like if you go to like Alex Jones's website, Infowars.com, some of the stuff is like grain of salt. But some of it's like, okay, this actually links out to another site, and I can go to it. So I can make my own decision by looking at that, and I can choose to believe what I want and choose not to believe what I don't want. It's not pre-digested baby milk.
I don't want something that's pre-digested, and I don't want necessarily opinion pieces. That's what I don't want. I don't want opinion pieces.
No.
Those annoy me.
No, I like ones that link out. This is a tweet that someone said. This is the evidence that they showed. This is whatever. And so, honestly, like, as crazy as it sounds, the most sane one I've found so far would be either like Newsmax or Infowars, which is bananas. But you can't believe everything on there.
I've actually seen some from Young Turks. I've seen some interesting ones from the Young Turks. I don't know if anybody's listening to that.
There is a subreddit that got kicked off of Reddit that was a Trump Reddit page, and Reddit bumped them off, and they have their own website, and they actually post some stuff that's like, it kind of gets like filtered through by the audience, and if you sort it right, you can see which ones have been substantiated. Like, this is correct evidence. And a lot of things that ends up getting picked up by Fox News shows up there like 2 days earlier. It's crazy.
So Fox News basically just gets their sources from there.
But yeah, they've just now started to cover some of the stuff that they should have.
Crazy.
Like,
well, we'll see what happens.
I just wish that they would say like, "Hey, we think Joe Biden's a projected winner, but this is the process."
Yes, that would
and because otherwise it's going to cause
commendable.
And that's what I want to leave people with tonight. Is like, do your own research. Don't take my word for it. I could be a crazy kook, but it's like whatever. Like, maybe I am, maybe I'm not. Like,
it's reasonable to acknowledge that there's questions and queries, and I think that's important.
Right.
To ignore it would be foolish. But I also think that you can't.
Which is why I just
went
and read their litigation and the affidavits that our people are getting,
Yeah.
because those are given under oath
to
as
acknowledge them, but it's also important to acknowledge that something
Yeah.
isn't absolutely truth either.
No, but when someone puts it under oath, penalty of perjury, and there's literally thousands of them saying the same things, I start to think, if the media is not talking about that, why should I believe them?
Sure.
And I think if I see a tweet that's talking about that evidence on Twitter and it says, this has been disputed, and you click on it, it says, election results are not da-da-da-da, and it's not even like a dispute paper, like they didn't fact check it and show me the other evidence, they just said they didn't like it. That tells me maybe I can't believe Twitter. They're they're validating all the people that they are trying to invalidate. And yeah, I'm going to put a bunch of links up. People can go look at them. You can think I'm crazy if you want, but I want to leave people with whoever you voted for. Please just understand there's still a process going on, even if the media is not talking about it.
Love it. Boom. Sounds good.
Shower thoughts?
You got a TIL?
I do have a TIL.
Yeah, hit me.
Okay. Today I learned the 1626 AD explosion in Beijing, one of the largest and most lethal explosions ever, and the exact cause hasn't been determined. Body parts and animals rained down from the sky. Everything within 3 to 14 miles was utterly obliterated.
Whoa.
The explosion was about equal to the Hiroshima bombing.
When was that?
1626 AD.
Gosh dang. Big
Ba-boom!
Yeah. Something.
Probably because they were getting rid of their electoral college
or something. Oh yeah. That's
totally
definitely it.
Yeah.
All right. My first shower thought. Coming to you about gummy worms. Gummy worms have more bones in them than actual worms.
It's true. That one took me a minute. I was like, wait, why?
Yeah.
Oh,
it's kind of cool.
Right. Unless they're vegan.
I don't know if you can have. I
guess they have vegan. They have vegan gelatin. Yeah. Yeah. If people don't know, like gelatin.
I bet the majority of jelly
worms
worms aren't though.
Are you just gonna keep it on me, or?
Well, no, you're doing your shower thought.
Oh yeah, my shower thought. Yeah. If the Queen of England gets to 100 years old, she might get a card from the Queen of England.
Does anyone that turns 100 get a card from the Queen of England?
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, she's gonna sign her own card.
Interesting. That'd be a little weird, but cool. Okay, fair enough. Okay. Most of us, if you think about it, actually have dead bodies in our refrigerators.
Oh, it's true.
They're just not. They're just not people, right?
Ooh, Donner Party.
Donner Party.
Some parking spots make more in an hour than workers on a minimum wage salary.
Yeah. Yeah, that's very true and sad. Okay.
Just sitting there laying flat.
Just
You're worth
sitting
quite a
there
bit.
working hard worker. Don't be afraid. Okay, I don't think yet. We should not be afraid of the first artificial intelligence that passes the Turing test.
Yeah.
We should be afraid of the first AI that deliberately fails it. Right? Interesting.
That means like the sentient test, guys.
Yeah.
Everything can be a kite if the wind is strong enough.
I'm trying to think of something that couldn't, but
nope.
Unless it's okay. It's
like a mountain.
No. Like if it's an aerodynamic shape that actually pushes it against the ground rather than.
Yeah, but you could just with the strings, you just twist it the other way. Like it's a kite.
Yeah. That's true. I guess so. I'll give you it. All right, my last shower thought here. Our shadows are 2-dimensional, but we have no way of telling if our 3rd-dimensional body is a shadow of a 4th-dimensional being. So, like, what if our souls...
That's not a shower thought. That's a
crazy thought. What if our souls are our 4th-dimensional actual being forms?
That's kind of what Peter Pan had.
That is... Exactly. And then our 3rd-dimensional, and that's what we are now. We are the shadow, our 3rd dimension, and then our shadows are the 2nd dimension. Kind of a crazy thought.
Except then we would feel very controlled.
Right? We would be. Yeah. It would be determinism.
Yeah.
Yeah. Interesting.
We would have determinism and they wouldn't.
Our shadows.
Yeah.
No. The 4th dimensional. 4th dimension would have. I don't know. I'm not sure about that. I have to think about it. I have to nibble on it.
Yeah, you should think about that further. Yeah. When you meet people from your past, they remember a version of you that no longer exists.
True. Unless you've like been cryogenically frozen or something weird, something wild.
Yeah.
All right. Well, is that it? Is that what you got?
That's all I got.
All right, guys. Thank you so much for hanging out with us this weekend. We appreciate y'all.
It's the first time in a while you've gone to the bathroom during an episode.
I know. I drank a lot before this episode, so.
Well, you should lay off the liquor.
It just gets me here quicker. I don't know.
You'd end up sicker.
Oh, listen. Let's not bicker. All right, guys. Well, we'll end it on me. We'll end it on me. So you guys have a great weekend, great week, and we'll talk to you guys later.
Subscribe.
Bye, guys.
Forgive us for anything we said that you hated,
or love it, whatever,
or love it,
Bye.
or love us for being different. Bye.